All right, so over the course of a 2,700 mile bike race, things are bound to happen, right? Like maybe a nagging injury, running into a rainstorm, and yes, a mechanical issue or two. While some of these things can maybe be controlled, others sometimes happen by the luck of the draw. So in this video, I ask a few folks who participated in the 2023 Tour Divide to share their experiences with mechanical issues and how they handled those situations. All right, let's dive into it. All right, so I asked a bunch of people to kind of help me with this project, but I actually got a lot of replies saying that I didn't have any mechanical issues last year, which I actually found to be quite interesting. Some folks really do get by with zero issues, while others seem to have bad luck. Like Justinas, he really had a bad year last year. So let's hear from him and others, and then I'll circle back with issues that I had on my Tour Divide ride a handful of years back, and we'll close with a few takeaways. But before we move along, I just want to take a quick moment to let you all know that this video is supported in part by OneUp USA. OneUp combines superior materials and craftsmanship with a keen understanding for what you need to get your bike and gear to your next adventure. Whether you're an enthusiast, weekend warrior, or pro cyclist, the result is simple: durable, no hassle bike racks and accessories that you can trust will last for the long haul. No matter what you ride, your bike deserves OneUp USA. So to learn more about their Made in the USA range of bike racks and accessories, click on the card in the top right corner, or also follow the link in the description below. All right, let's hear from a few finishers from last year.
Hello, you beautiful people. Justinas here. You can find me on Instagram by Justin and Bikes and follow my adventures. So, last year's Tour Divide and mechanicals I encountered. First was the rear derailleur that stopped working. So I didn't resolve it, or like I resolved it halfway because I had to, I found out that by kicking it you could shift the gears. Then my rear spoke snapped, didn't resolve that either. Finished with a rigid front fork because all the mud and stuff did the work and it stopped working halfway, maybe a bit more. Then what else? The right pedal that came off the axle didn't resolve that either, so I rode, I don't know, 500, 600 miles on the spindle alone. So yeah, that was quite some. But that's what you can expect from Tour Divide, and none of them have stopped me, so I finished.
My name is Alex House, up in Nederland, Colorado. Yeah, last year I broke a bunch of spokes. Not all at once, fortunately or unfortunately, but over the course of the ride. First one I fixed with a fiber fix. That was pretty cool. Handy little product, would recommend to a friend. But yeah, then eventually I think I broke the spoke nipple on that. I don't remember what happened to that, but I had to get creative, and I used the same fiber fix, but I tied it to a bolt and threaded it through, and then wound it around to get a bunch of tension on it, and then with an Allen key, and then tied it to another spoke. Yeah, I used that a couple times, and then eventually I used the string for my bivvy. It was this Kevlar string, and that was good for a while. But then I ordered a bunch of spokes and had them FedEx to a hotel, and unfortunately my bike crapped out before that, and I had to hitchhike up there and back, but it all works out. Just keep trying. You'll be okay.
This is Chris Burkard, and I'm here to share a bit about my 2023 Tour Divide experience and the mechanicals I went through. My crank basically took a complete dump on me coming out of Idaho and into Wyoming. That was the biggest issue I dealt with. It was completely seized up, and the only way I was able to move forward was by taking all the lube I had and just squirting it into my crankset, into my bearings and everything. And it got me over the pass to a mobile mechanic that met me on the other side. I'd called him when I had barely any service, and he said this was something he had done for other Divide riders in the past. So he basically had the parts I needed, fixed it and I was able to move forward, but that would have been a ride ending situation because there was no real bike shops anywhere nearby. And the other issues I dealt with were the SRAM transmission. I trusted this brand new cassette chain setup and obviously derailleur and chain just totally expanded on me and did not deal with the conditions like I had hoped. I trusted it a lot. Issue is that I couldn't find a replacement. It was so new that I just couldn't find something that was replaceable anywhere. Also, the cassette teeth became really sharp and just worn out really fast, a lot faster than I thought. So both those things were something that I learned a lot from and basically never got a chance to fix the chain or cassette on the route and just suffered through it.
Hi, my name is Katya Rakhmatulina, and last year in 2023 I did the Tour Divide, during which I got a number of mechanicals that could have stopped me from finishing, but I managed to get through them and finish the Tour Divide. I'd say the first scary mechanical was a slow one where my front bag rubbed holes over time in both of my hydraulic brake hoses. So I didn't notice for a while, except that my braking got bad and I noticed a lot of oil on my front bag. That was somewhat of an easy fix. So essentially all I needed to get was some alcohol and hand sanitizer form to clean the oil off, got some super glue and tape to cover up the holes, and then I managed to get to the next bike shop 100 plus miles later to get new hydraulic hoses. The second mechanical was scarier because I couldn't fix it on my own. Essentially, my bottom bracket got blown up from all the mud, and I could pedal but very poorly. So for 30 miles, I pedaled to Crumling, where I had enough service to call bike shops in Silverthorne asking if they have my bottom bracket. None of them really had my bottom bracket because it's a bit of an odd size. But one bike shop, Gore Range Sports, they said that they probably have the bearing. So as long as I make it to their shop, they can fix it. Of course, getting to their shop is also not easy because I was 40 miles away and there would be a lot of time lost. But luckily, I was able to get a ride into town. At the shop, it took some time to knock out the broken bearing out just because all the bolts from the bearing were loose inside and the cup was stuck. But once they did that, they also tuned my bike, which needed tuning, got new bike tires, so really the bike was new, so it's a bit of a blessing in disguise. I did manage to find a ride back, and I think I lost only 4 hours, and during those 4 hours I got resupply, had a meal, and of course I had a bike that needed tuning anyway, so I got what felt like a brand new bike. And then once I got back to where I left off, I didn't really have any other major mechanicals for the rest of the ride. Hope that helps.
So hi, this is Ulrich from Spain, last year's winner of Tour Divide. And my secret recipe for the success last year was I basically had barely any mechanicals. I had one out bottom bracket and a nearly dead tire at the end. But I managed to get there because I changed all wearing parts before the start. So a new cassette, new chain ring, new chain, brake pads, bottom bracket, everything which wears off. I changed before the start, and then I was at a bike shop, Steamboat Springs, halfway in, giving some love and breathe to everything which is turning, and so managed to get to the finish line. And my rear tire was super worn out at the end, so I captured 1 mile out of the finish, but still managed to finish. And literally my advice is change every wearing part you can before the start, because it will be a long and wild ride. See you out there.
All right, so I really want to thank these amazing humans for sharing their stories and perspectives. Now, when I went on the Tour Divide, I was not as skilled of a home mechanic as I am today, but I honestly don't actually think that would have really changed too much. Maybe I would have found myself lubing my chain a little bit more along the way. Most of the issues, however, that I had were related to normal wear and tear. All right, so I had Orange Peel Bike Shop in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, basically do a once over on my bike, which is about halfway on the route. So they said that my drivetrain and bottom bracket were toast, not uncommon at all after loads of sloppy miles. They replaced the bottom bracket, but I opted to keep the chain cassette and chainring on as a new chain would simply not mesh with the old parts, and I didn't really want to pay for a whole new drivetrain en route. All right, so one thing that was really unfortunate was the bearings of my SP dynamo hub. So not only is there already some drag in dynamo hubs, but when the bearings fail, yeah, it takes that much more effort to get them going. And that's what happened. So I sent the hub into SP after the race and they replaced the bearings for me. But yeah, I'm sure this resulted in me working harder and expending more watts as I made my way down to Antelope Wells. Not sure if I would actually use a dynamo hub again because of that. And finally, I also bent my aero bar from a crash, and this was all kind of due to carelessness in the Great Divide Basin, but it's the kind of thing that can happen out there. Luckily, a bent aero bar was the worst of it. Most of these things I either had to basically deal with or they were pretty easy to manage. All right, so what are some good takeaways here? I think the first and foremost is have a bike that is in good working order before you leave. As Ulrich said, replace worn parts, chains, pads, tires. Avoidance is the key to success here. On top of that, consider using components with, say, standard parts, so you aren't in a situation like Chris or Katya. Maybe use more standard Shimano or SRAM drivetrains. The same goes with brake pads or bottom brackets. Play the odds game. We have seen electronic shifting break, so perhaps if you want to avoid that, well, simply don't use it. The same goes for suspension forks. Will you have time to get the oil and seals replaced, or are you okay with the fork feeling like junk by the end of the race? I also think overbuilt wheels and bikes that have clearance for bigger volume tires might handle some of the challenging sections on the route better, despite them being few and far between. Simply understanding and not being afraid to work on your bike, make adjustments, tinker. This will most importantly help repair your bike when it's debilitated. This truly goes a long way. And baby your bike when it needs it most, like not shifting under load through peanut butter mud. So what are some of your takeaways? And if you've had a major mechanical problem, let us know about it and how you fixed it. As always, thank you all so much for watching. And if you like what you saw in this video and want to see more like it, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And if you want to help support us a little bit more, BIKEPACKING.com as a whole, this YouTube channel, you can do so by signing up for the Bikepacking Collective. The Collective offers a lot of awesome perks, including industry discounts, monthly giveaways, and the twice yearly Bikepacking Journal. So to learn a little bit more about the Bikepacking Collective, you can click on the card in the top right corner or also follow the link in the description below. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, pedal further.